Hey guys, welcome to my new series of videos called I Like and I Don't Like. Something, a little bit background of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to give you opinions on some of the movie I think is overrated or underrated. So it's basically all started with Dunkirk, the movie I saw recently. I really didn't like it, and I tried to like it. I watched it twice. I read every single piece of reviews or comments or articles that I can get a hand on to, but I just couldn't appreciate this movie as everyone did. I think the movie has a lot of problems. I feel like people choose to ignore the problem. But on the other hand, I know why everyone liked it, and I know why everyone think it's a masterpiece. So I respected other people's opinion, but I posted something online, and then there were a lot of people getting very, very angry with me. And some of them even called me being very offensive, which is unfair on my part because I never said their opinion was wrong. I just say I don't feel like the same way as the 93% of people on Rotten Tomato or the 94% of the people on Metacritic. I have already said enough about Dunkirk, but this is not why I'm doing this video. All I'm trying to say is movie is a very subjective thing, and so I want to think of my reviews, think of this series of video as me providing a different perspective, shed a different light on movies that either everyone hated or most people hated or everyone loved, but somehow I feel like something isn't right about these movies. So I'm gonna start with the movie that is most recently released. It's Ghost in the Shell, the 2017 version. First time I seen this movie, I seen it in opening night, and frankly, there's not a lot of people seeing that movie. First time I seen it, I felt like the movie was okay. So I let it sink in for a while, and there was a lot of things that I couldn't get it off on my head. So I went to see it second time. And a lot of things that I couldn't get shed off makes more sense in my head. And as more I think about this movie, the better it gets. To the point that I think this is one of my favorite films of the year. I put it in top 10. Recently, I bought it on Blu-ray. I saw this movie again, and I can definitely say this is a very underrated movie, at least in my book. And to start with, I'm gonna talk about some of the criticism that this movie received, and then I'm gonna talk about why I really like this movie. The first criticism, and is the one that occurred before even the movie was released, is the whitewashing stuff. Now, I don't want to get into political stuff because it's quickly get out of hand and becomes very complicated. To say the politics in the modern society is chaos is a big understatement. But I just want to let you know, I want to talk about one video I saw. Somebody made an interview to the Japanese people. Like, they interviewed some Japanese audiences about the fact Scarlett Johansson being chosen as Major Kira, or just Major in this case. Apparently, none of the people who were interviewed seemed really mind. In fact, there was a poll, I think, that 99% of Japanese audiences, they don't seem to care. So here's my question: if the audiences from the country the movie was originated in doesn't really care about whitewashing, what does it say about us? Why do we think it's a problem? The only logical explanation was we're just being hypocrites. And this is not the first time it happens. I am against racism. Let's make it clear. I'm Asian. I'm Asian myself. I'm Chinese myself. So when I say I don't feel like the choice of casting is whitewashing, I think my statement to some extent has some weight in there. I'm not American, so definitely my statement has at least some weight in there. And and besides, if you know anything about Ghost in the Shell, you know that Major is a cyborg. Her original body is damaged, or you know what? In the original film, they didn't really explain. Like at least I don't remember them explaining. So she's a cyborg with a human brain inside. So whatever her skin color is, I highly doubt it's her original body. So a cyborg being white, and then people complaining it was whitewashing. I feel like it wasn't. On my book, I feel like it was an overkill. And besides, this is a Hollywood remake. This is an America remake. When The Departed was made, did people complain about the cast not being Hong Kong? Because the source material, Infernal Affair, is a Hong Kong movie. Did they complain the story took place in New York, but not in Hong Kong? I don't remember people complaining about that. Or Edge of Tomorrow, the movie that everyone likes so much. It was based on the manga. It was all Japanese. Everything is Japanese. I don't seem to recall people complaining about Tom Cruise is white. And I don't seem to recall people complaining about the story take place in North America. So I don't know. Like I don't know what's people's deal with. This is Paramount's movie that they got the right to, and the two Godzilla movies. Nobody say what you want about the quality movie, but that's another case. But nobody complained about Godzilla not in Japan but show up in USA. Shouldn't people went apeshit like, oh, Godzilla, he should always be in Japan? So yeah, I don't get the criticism. I think it is very pretentious. Like people say that it's very pretentious, but this is just getting even worse. When the movie opened up and it was in Hong Kong, and you see people wearing Japanese clothing, sitting in Japanese restaurants, and then you see people from all over the place wear their own costumes. And then instead of people saying this is culturally diverse, which to me, I really like it. It's kind of have a cyberpunk feel, as Blade Runner kind of a feel. I really like the color scheme, the melting pots, the cultural melting pots the story is taking place in. So I feel like this is really I feel like this is great. But then people use it as further to use whitewashing. They say like it was a tool for the producers to avoid the criticism of not having cast an Asian people. I feel this is completely ludicrous. This is honestly getting on my nerves, because at this stage it's like, okay, let's drop the whitewashing stuff and please enjoy this movie, because this is a very good movie, and if you keep on thinking about it, you're not going to enjoy the movie. So honestly, I'm kind of sick and tired of like people complaining about this. And the ending shows that Scarlett Johansson character was actually Japanese. I think it's a very good ending, but then people start complaining again. It's like, oh, so now they're justifying like why they're making Scarlett Johansson as the casting in the role. Okay, what? Do you guys see the movie? Do you guys know why even that exists? This is something I'm gonna talk about a little bit later in my video as to why I really like it. But let's get through the criticism. The other big criticism the movie receives was it was a kind of a dump down plot, and then it abandoned the philosophy, the complex philosophy from the original movie. Firstly, I want to talk about the original movie a little bit. I think it's a great movie. It's one of the best anime I've seen in my life. It's get a 9 out of 10 for me. The one point that dropped is basically the script. I feel like the script is very well written, but it's just overcomplicated. It reminds me of like Stanley Kubrick 2001 Space Odyssey. There's not a lot of character development, especially for Major. She doesn't show a lot of emotion, which is okay. She's an android, but she doesn't show a lot, which goes with most of the characters. They don't show a lot of emotion, which make me really hard to connect with anyone. This is something this version movie done really, really well. Again, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, and also the towards the end there was just a lot of monologue, and then people were just babbling out of stuff. The message of this movie, original movie, was how we interact with hacking, how we interact with machines. It's very Blade Runner, but they were done in a little bit convoluted way. But it was really ahead of their time, and filmmakers like Wachowski was actually very inspired by this movie, especially with the opening credits of The Matrix. You see the green digits is exactly reminiscent of Ghost in the Shell. So yes, Ghost in the Shell had a big impact on the modern society, especially on Hollywood movie as a whole. So for this movie, I'm glad they went something different. Yes, I agree. It is a kind of a dumb down, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because this film is going in a different direction. While the original film is talking about our relationship with society, our relationship with Android, what's control, what's not being controlled. This film dealt with more personal level. The invasion of privacy, our gender, our racial identity, these kind of things. Honestly, I like the message of this movie better because I can relate to this movie. I'll expand that upon later. Another criticism this movie gets was there's not a lot of action, and some people find this movie to be boring. That's the problem with a lot of modern movies nowadays, because whenever they see like a slower paced movie, the first reaction was, oh, this movie was so boring. This has happened with a lot of movies recently, like Tinker Tailor. I absolutely adore this movie. It happens at a very slow pace, but the more you watch it, the more you realize how it relates to the movie. And also, Logan received the same criticism, which is another one of my favorite movie of the year. So is The War of Planet of the Apes. These slow movies build up stuff that eventually in the end will build up something bigger. This is the kind of movie where you shouldn't watch the first time, shouldn't watch once, and then going back and then like saying, "Oh, this movie sucks." I think for a movie like Ghost in the Shell, it deserves multiple time watching, and I guarantee you, the more you watch it, the better you'll feel about this movie. So enough about criticism, because I've heard enough, and these are the big ones. I'm gonna talk about what I like about this movie. First of all, the cast. They were all great. Scarlett Johansson, she showed the right balance between a man being an android and an android inside a man, inside a human. So there were times she has no emotion, but you can clearly see in her eyes that she has doubts of what she's doing. I really like her acting, especially in this movie. She showed vulnerability, but on the other hand, she can be as badass as you can possibly be. The other one who had a standout performance was the guy who played Bateau. What's his name? I can't pronounce his name. Pilo Asbak, something like that. Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. All I know is he played Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. I think he's a very good actor. He's very likable. He has a really good personality. He and Major has a really good chemistry. They were friends. They were like friends, and they complement each other. Major, as being as enhanced as she is more of a physical support, and Bateau is more of a moral support. This is something the characters is something what the original movie doesn't have, and this movie did better. They complement each other, and they do feel like a buddy cop, but on the other hand, not going into a comedy route. The other character I feel like have a standout performance is Julia Binoche. She's basically kind of like the scientist is basically like one of those crazy scientists with a conscience. Except here, she is trying to be scientifically innovative. She believes in the work she's doing, but she doesn't want. But she has kind of a moral code. But her moral code was basically being shoved off by her superior. So you can see her struggle is very clearly shown, and being the actress herself is a really good one. She has kind of a maternal instinct. Like when you see the movie, the first impression I have was she's kind of like the mother to Major, and a lot of the time she is. Imagine a mother in a corporation seeing her daughter being suffered and trying to help, but was forced to work for the people who's creating her daughter's suffering. And I think Julia Binoche, I can't pronounce her name, played this role very, very well, at least in my book. The rest of the cast, I really liked. They were okay. They were really, really good. I mean, there was a lot of battering among the character. One of them said like, "Oh, I drink so much, so I drink a lot, so I replaced my liver with machine." And I really like these kind of dialogues. In this movie, there are really any monologues. People rarely sit down and explain things to you. It doesn't happen a lot. Like most of the things we know comes from normal day-to-day conversation. There's never been an attempt in this film. There's never an attempt for people to explain things to you. That's something like in Dunkirk or in any Nolan movie where people were explaining things to you. For instance, the example I just said. It's very casual. It's like, I drink too much, I just want to replace the liver. So what's the message behind it? Our society goes so advanced that we can replace any parts of our body we want, and we don't have to worry about consequences. It's convenient, but on the other hand, we're replacing our humanity for something else. Oh, by the way, when I was watching this movie, I feel like I was watching the Deus Ex, the video game. There was a lot of music cues reminding me of it, and some of the messages are really similar. The action sequences were really, really good too. They have some. It's very elegantly shot. There was a lot of long take. Thank God. There's you don't see a lot of quick cuts. Most of the actions, some of them were shot in slow-mo, reminding me of John Woo's movie. No quick cuts, no random, no shaky cam. Thank God for that. And the cinematography was beautiful, but I think you heard it 1,000 times already. So, like I said in my previous video, 3 things I look: characters, plot, and spectacle. So I explained characters. I really like these characters. Characters stand out more than the original film. End of story. Spectacles, great. I don't need to tell you how good the spectacle is. Just watch the trailer. And everyone, even the harshest critic would agree. Like, the visual effect looks great. The sound design was good. And the music was absolutely superb. It reminded me something of Tron Legacy and Deus Ex, the game, and a little bit Blade Runner here and there. So I really like the music that they put in the film. So the final part of the Trinity, plot. Is it good? In my book, it is. But it's not a perfect plot. So basically, like I said before, this film dealt more with Major rather than the things around her. In the original film, it dealt with the villain Puppet Master. Especially the second half of the movie, it's nothing but her, the Major, talking to the Puppet Master. But then in this film, it's more focused on Major, which is something I prefer better. So basically, just imagine if you're put in an android body, would you have questions? And people do answer them. They say like, oh, you have memories, right? You remember things, right? So there you go. You don't need to ask questions. Would you be just satisfied with that? You wouldn't, especially when your memories start having glitches. There was a moment in the film that nobody really talked about, where Major sit down herself, looking mirror at herself, and then afterwards she hires a woman, or probably prostitute, and all she asks her to do is tell her what it means to being a human, and she started touching her face. I feel like that was quite emotional on my part, because I feel like that is also very important, because she realized something was wrong and she wants to feel humanity. She wants to understand what it means to be a human, because she is in an android body. She remembers what it is to be a human, but she doesn't know how it feels to be a human. This is an integral part of the plot, and most people don't see it this way. Most people coming in, or for the fans of like Ghost in the Shell. In fact, I think most people who see this movie have never seen the original film, so they don't understand what the original film is about. That happens with like Jeremy Jones' review. He said, I don't understand. He actually made a fair point. He said, I don't understand the original film, so coming in, I know nothing about it. And then when I see it, like I was like, what the hell is going on? Actually, it is a fair point. If you know nothing about the original film, if you haven't seen the original film, you will get confused. But like I said, I recommend you seeing it a second time and then make a judgment. So throughout the film, her memories start having glitches and she having doubts. And then people tell her like, this is just something wrong with your body. And then like they ask her consent to delete it. I found it to be very interesting. Like throughout the film, she always has to say, my name is Major and I give consent. It's reminding me in real life where we read a contract. Nowadays, it's basically everything. Like you buy something on YouTube, you buy something on Uber, you buy something on Amazon or whatever, you sign a lease. Everyone was asking for your consent, and you always say yes. So it looks like you have a choice, but really though, you never read into it. You never really, you have to follow. You don't have a choice actually. You were basically, what I'm trying to say is you were given one. Choice is an illusion. I sound like someone from Matrix Reloaded, but yeah. But basically the theme is choice is an illusion. We always have the options of giving a choice, but sometimes in life, in this society, in the society where information flows rapidly, things going so fast, we don't have a choice. Not really. Major just want to be functional. She wants to continue with her mission. She doesn't concern about everything else. So when she sees the glitches, the doctor is deliberately telling her lie, and she immediately say yes. So, which tied me back to the very end of the movie, where she discovered that the things were deleted were actually her actual memories, which makes this makes things interesting because she gave consent to it. She could keep her glitches. All she could say is just no, but she said yes. So this makes things interesting. And towards the end of the movie, where they tried to kill her, she said like, I did not give a consent to that. And then the doctor said like, we never really needed your consent. So it was like, that does sound familiar. That does sound like something that we do. That does sound like happen every day. Which leads me to the ending of the movie. Yes, we discover she's actually a Japanese girl in a white woman's body. Basically, the whole thing started with the villain, Kuze. She was a failed experiment, and I really like the design of Kuze. Throughout the film, he experienced glitches, and he stutters, and the way his head moves was really, really awesome. I really liked it. So basically, meeting with Kuze, found out that he was actually the lover of Major's character, and that they both shared a past, and so it makes her realize who she really is. And there was a scene where she went to her mother's house. At first, she didn't know who that was her mother. And then when she started talking to his mother, she started to realize they both started to realize they were one another. They didn't say, "Oh, my name is that, my name is that," but it's like more the conversation. It's a little bit detail building up. Like the mother is describing the way she does things, the way she feels, and she's starting to realize like this is me. And I feel like this is very. And at that point, I was like, "Oh shit!" I feel sympathy for her. And towards the end, she said, like, you do look like her. I don't know. It's something I see in you. That's something I see in you reminding me her. This is the time where she realized, okay, she's definitely my mom. And that ties in with the title of the movie, The Ghost in the Shell. What I think here, the ghost is the soul and the shell is body. Our body can change, but who we really are is in the soul. And so, what is our soul? We can alter any appearance we like, but no matter how much we alter it, our soul is still with us. So I think this is a very, very deep topic, and I like how the film explores. And if I want to explore this topic, I'll be sitting here all night. So let's just wrap it up a little bit. The only problem, like I said, it's not a perfect plot. There were some a little bit on the nose dialogue. But then again, if people were fine with Christopher Nolan on the nose dialogue, for instance, he's the hero that we need, but not the hero that deserves. You either die a hero or see yourself become a villain. Like, who in real life says something like that? Anyway, if people are fine with this kind of dialogue, then I don't see how little bit out on the nose dialogue here is going to be a problem. Especially this happens in the future. So who the fuck knows in the future how we're going to talk? The main villain, I feel like it was a little bit cliched, a little bit. But then again, the main focus of the movie it was never about the villain. It was about the major. So I feel like if you coming to the movie expecting Puppet Master, you'll be disappointed. But you're supposed to watch this movie from a different perspective. Yes, I do feel like the ending is a little bit Hollywood, but then again, the whole movie is good. So having a little bit rushed ending, I don't feel like it's a problem. So yeah, like I said, I believe in my book that this is a very underappreciated movie. Probably one of the best sci-fi film in the last 10 years. Not in the top 10, but definitely around top 20 to top 50. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And if you see it, you don't get it the first time, I highly recommend you seeing it for a second time or third time. Just try to understand, just take it easy, take it slow, be patient with it. And Paramount, please release a director's cut, because there were bits and pieces of the film that I felt that was a cut out. But if Ridley Scott can make so many director's cut, why not this movie? I feel like this is another case of, like, say, Kingdom of Heaven or Blade Runner. But but I don't feel like it was butchered that badly. I do feel like there were bits and pieces. So I do want to see director's cuts with, like, say 10 or 20 more minutes to make this movie complete. And I genuinely think that this movie can be a cult classic. That's my honest opinion. So how would I rate? So I would give this movie 8.5 out of 10. And that's final for now. I will watch this movie maybe sometimes during the next year, or like give it a couple months to see if I want to boost it up to a 9. And for now, I really liked it. I don't get the hate. So yes, this is so thank you so much for watching my video. The next couple video I want to do a Man of Steel and X-Men Apocalypse, because I really like these two movies. I think they were criminal underrated. And for overrated movie, I want to do Dark Knight, but I want to see this movie once more just to solidify my opinion. And definitely Arrival. I liked Arrival, but I just don't think it's not as great as everyone made it out to be. So thank you so much for watching my video. Please leave a comment below Ghost in the Shell. If you hate it, it's alright. I understand why you hated it. I respect it because yes, I don't think it's a perfect movie. It has flaws. So like it or hate it, please leave a comment. I want to promote a discussion about this movie. And if you like a video, please click subscribe or like, or watch some of my other videos. And like always, if you think I'm good, you're pretty good too.